Hey YouTube, thanks for stopping by the channel. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about some things that I wish I would have started thinking about 6 to 12 months before I ever started my van life adventure. Because a lot of channels will talk to you about four-wheel drive versus all-wheel drive and specifications for your van and things like that. But very few of them start asking you to ask yourself the right questions, to know yourself and your plan well enough to make sure you buy the right van for you. So today, I'm not going to talk about specifications or different vans or any of that. I'm going to talk to you about the questions you need to start thinking about and contemplating 6 to 12 months before you step foot in the RV dealership or the van shop so that you buy and get the right van for your new van life adventure. All right, let's get into it. So when I bought my van, I had some big dreams. I had planned to go off-roading a lot. I had planned to do a lot of boondocking, and all of that has not actually proved true. As you guys know, I'm chasing good mountain biking and traveling around through the country, touring the country, seeing a lot of things I've always dreamed of seeing, and that includes some cities. So the truth is, reality is, I have this beautiful Winnebago Rebel behind me. It's 2025 Winnebago Rebel. It is all-wheel drive, all-terrain tires. It is jacked up. It is an off-road beast. We can handle some amazing stuff for its size and what it has to offer. But what I did not think of at the time, and what I didn't realize, is I actually spend about 60 to 65% of my time in established campgrounds. I don't go off-road that often, and when I do, I don't tend to venture that far off of gravel Forest Service roads. Now, occasionally I get into some more off-road type terrain, but it's not that often. And so, did I buy the right van for me? The truth is, I don't know. I question that. So let me give you guys some ideas on things I think you need to think about and the way I think you need to frame this issue so that when you do go to the dealership, you buy the right van. So the first question for you is to think about, start at the end and then come to the beginning. And by that I mean is, how long do you plan to travel? If you plan to travel 6 months to a year, then you are likely going to want to consider a used van, because your depreciation hit will be so high that that will be a very expensive year for you. On the other hand, if you plan to travel 3, 4 years, 5 years, then you're probably going to want to consider a new van, because the depreciation hit isn't that substantial year over year if you're going to keep it long enough. Similarly, you might want to consider, if you're traveling for less than a year or a year, you're probably not going to get to see the entire country, which means you're probably going to chase nice weather. If you chase nice weather, you don't need an all-season van. You may, or a van that is effectively winterproof, because having a van that's winterproof also has a lot of inconveniences associated with it. For example, in my Rebel, all the plumbing is inside. And you go, Ty, that's great. You can do anything you want. Yes, that is great. And I love winter, so I actually plan to chase winter in it. But with all the plumbing inside, it means that I cannot hook in, like now, an established campground to water without having my rear doors open, which is kind of annoying when I'm trying to sleep. So unlike all these other folks around me who are hooked into water and sewer, I am not. And when I want to get water, I fill my tanks and drain, and I fill my tanks. And I have to do that fairly regularly, right? So there are trade-offs, and that is the big point of this video. There are trade-offs to everything. So start now and figure out, if I'm going to spend a year or 2 years or 3 years, do I need an all-season van? Do I want new versus used? Because the other advantage, and I forgot to mention this, is that a lot of times in a new RV, you're going to have new RV problems, because almost every RV has problems. That beautiful van came brand new from the dealership, and it went back to a dealership within a month with a major plumbing issue. It then went back within a couple weeks after that with a heating issue. So, and it was brand new. Now, it was all covered by Winnebago under warranty. I'm not bashing Winnebago whatsoever. I love that van, but that's typical. I'm not the only one telling you that story. Whereas if you buy a used RV, somebody else probably suffered all those problems and hopefully fixed it before they sold it to you. So the next part I'm going to tell you is, know thyself. And by that I mean, are you an introvert or are you an extrovert? If you're an introvert, you may like being off-grid. If you're if you're an extrovert, you may want to be in established campgrounds around people where it's often very social. Do you really want to be in the middle of nowhere? And if you do, great. I can tell you, do you have a fear of wildlife? Are you afraid of bears? Are you going to be afraid to go off-grid by yourself because you're afraid you'll get hurt or injured, or you're afraid of people, right? Well, that may not be something I think you have to be that afraid of off-grid. If you're afraid of being robbed or violence happening against you, you know, you may want to stick to established campgrounds, but know yourself, know that fear's there. And I tell you that because, again, I don't think I realized when I bought my van how great my fear of getting lost is. I have this amazingly, like, almost debilitating fear of getting lost. And I didn't really realize how bad it was. But the truth is, I'm never gonna venture that far off of Forest Service roads, right? I'm not gonna be the person that's just going out there and out there and out there further and further and further, because I'm petrified I won't get back and I won't be able to figure it out. Which is silly, because I literally travel with 3 GPSs on me when I hike. That's not even including the one that's actually built in the van, right? So the probability of me getting lost is pretty small, but had I known that, I maybe wouldn't have bought the, you know, all-terrain vehicle, because I give up a lot of comfort to have that vehicle, right? It rides a lot rougher. The space is utilized in a way, like the tanks being inside, so that I have less room for creature comforts. So I did a lot of trade-offs to be able to go off-road. And while I do go off-road, I'm going off-road tomorrow. I'm gonna spend 4 to 5 days out boondocking in the Chattahoochee National Forest. I also don't know that I would have gotten quite the level of off-road chops that I did. So know thyself, and in that same full vein, consider your full use case. And by that I mean, if you're only gonna be in nice climates, maybe you don't want the all-season van and you want the convenience of being able to plug water directly in the van, outside the van, so that when you go into an established campground, you can just plug your water in like most of the campers around me. You may want the more comfortable van, so that when you're driving down the road and driving in the city, it's just a nicer ride. I mean, I've only been out for a few months now, and I've already gone 8,000 miles. So I spend a lot of time driving, and you feel it over time, right? So know your use case, and by that, know your gear and how much gear you're gonna have. So as you guys know, or hopefully know, I'm chasing good mountain bike. I'm teaching myself to mountain bike. And so as I go about that, I also have a lot of gear. I not only have my bikes, which take up a lot of room, I have all the gear to service those bikes. That's a lot of gear. I carry, when I'm off-road, I carry emergency provisions. I carry a first aid kit. I carry extra water in case the plumbing and electrical system fails. I carry stuff for Odie, so that if we get stranded, I can take care of him and me for multiple days while we wait for assistance, right? If there's a flash flood, we have gear for that. So start making lists now, not only of, oh, I'm gonna take mountain bikes, but I'm gonna take 2 helmets. That takes up a lot of room. You have in that Winnebago Rebel, you have 60 square feet. That ain't a lot of space. So start making the list now of what you're gonna take, because that'll influence what kind of van you're gonna buy. If you're gonna mostly tour cities, you don't need a fancy gear garage like the Rebel has. Maybe you want a lot more comfortable bed, because I'm gonna tell you, the bed in that ain't that comfortable. But there are vans that have very comfortable beds, but you give up some of the gear space that I have. Is that worth it to you? So realize that with everything, there's gonna be trade-offs. What are you willing to trade off to get your ideal van? Do you want more space, or do you want more creature comforts? When you're considering new versus used, there's trade-offs. Reliability, you may presume it's more with new, but it may not be. And that particular Rebel, this year has doubled the lithium-ion battery capacity. That was worth a lot to me, because I would have had to buy all that aftermarket, because I can leave Odie for 8+ hours alone in air conditioning. That's a huge deal for me. You know, you need to start considering all those things. Consider your full use case. If you have a dog, if you're gonna leave the dog there, you may need to be able to run your AC for 8 to 9 hours. Only you know what you're really going to do. But part of knowing what you're really gonna do is having that honest conversation with yourself of, I'm not realistically going to spend 90% of my time off-road. I'm gonna spend 10% of my time off-road, or 20, or none, or 100. If you're gonna spend 100, then you may buy a very different van, particularly if you're gonna spend it, you know, chasing moderate climates and going to the mountains in the summer and Florida in the winter. The next thing that I'm gonna tell you now that they don't tell you about is you need to budget $10,000 to $30,000. You heard me right, $10,000 to $30,000 for your aftermarket accessories for your van. I tell you that because that Rebel behind me has $25,000 of aftermarket accessories on it, and I'm actually not done. And hear me out. They build these vans out for a very generic audience. But for example, you guys know I'm doing mountain biking, so I gotta carry my bikes. They're hanging off the back. To carry those bikes and hang those off the back, I bought an X-Pull system. The X-Pull system was a good buy for me because I can change out the bike racks for ski racks quite easily, as opposed to having to drill more holes in my van. I also mount an Alvan's Adventure box. I mount a recovery shovel. Never did I think I'd spend $795 on a shovel. Guess what? I spent $795 on a shovel. It's mounted at the back of that van locked up. There was recovery boards on the top. Those were $400 or $500, can't remember, but they were expensive. The Alvan's Adventure box. I have an onboard air system. I have a high idle recharge system, so I can, if I run the air conditioner at night and I need to leave OD during the day, I can quickly recharge my lithium ion batteries so that he can stay in the van for 8 to 9 hours in comfort, and I don't have to worry about it. So the point being, you will start doing upgrades and more upgrades. The next thing for me is a suspension system. Why? Not because I thought I needed a suspension system, but because if you look, by the time I added all the weight to the vehicle, on the back, I had put more weight in that vehicle than the Sprinter chassis is meant and designed to carry. So at some point, relatively soon, I'm going to take it back and spend $5 grand on a suspension upgrade. I tell you that because when you're planning your van, you need to start thinking about what aftermarket accessories you need, what's critical to you, what you want, and what's gonna make your life enjoyable. Especially for me, this is my full-time home. So I spend a lot of time now thinking, did I do this right? Did I do this wrong? So I hope you enjoyed this video. And I hope it gave you a lot to think about for your new van life, so that when you start your adventure, you start it off right and you're ready to go. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I hope you come back to the channel. If you like the video though, please hit the like and subscribe button, turn on those notifications before you leave, and drop a comment in so that we know you're enjoying this content. Have a great day.